Take it away.
Yeah. Hey, hi everyone. How are you all today? Great. Hello. My name is 𝗦𝗲𝗀𝗻𝗁, and our session today is called Develop Your Enterprise Playbook for the AI of Tomorrow.
Yeah.
So quick introductions. My name is 𝗦𝗲𝗀𝗁 at Citrix, standing behind, next to me.
Yeah, it's relatively rare that I am co-presenting with somebody who has an analogous title to mine. But you're the AI futurist at Citrix. I am the AI futurist at Microsoft. I'm Marco Casalina, and I'm also VP Products of Core AI here.
Yeah, and we have a lot of similarities. We were just talking about pinball. So as we live in the future, we have to stay in the analog world. So Marco and I are both fans of pinball. I recommend you all play pinball. OK, pinball public service over. We had the idea for this session to call it like two futurists walk into a bar.
Which we did do on Sunday, mind you.
A pinball bar. It was, that session title was rejected. But we're going to treat it like this. So we each have been working in enterprise IT. We measure in decades now. More things are measured in decades. And I want to have a conversation about where things are going. You know, my whole career, over 30 years now, it's been focused on end-user computing. And your career primarily is focused on AI.
I mean, business computing, yeah. I mean, I've been here since the dot-com boom. I do live here in the Bay Area. You used to live here in the Bay Area.
I did, yeah. I'm living in Paris now. And so we're Citrix and Microsoft. As you know, Citrix and Microsoft have been partnering for over 30 years. We call it we're better together. We at Citrix, you all at Microsoft, have a lot of similar focuses in terms of delivering enterprise technology to our customers and helping them work securely and be performant and things like that. Microsoft and Citrix jointly announced last year that our partnership, we renewed it again for an additional 8 years. Some billion plus value of that partnership. So it's really an honor for me to be standing here with you at Microsoft Ignite and telling a little story, and let's talk about the future a little bit.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about artificial intelligence today. Big surprise, I guess, right? Like, when you look at the future of anything, a lot of people think the future of end-user computing, digital workspace, knowledge work. They talk about glasses and Minority Report and swiping your fingers and self-driving cars and all that kind of stuff. All these things are awesome. Not what we're talking about today.
Right.
Because if you think about all this great, amazing future, when you tie it back to the enterprise and to what your workers are doing, what do? They sit at a laptop, they're on their phone, they're on their earbuds, they're using Copilot, they're using Excel, they're doing all these kinds of things. So that's the world that we live in, that's the world that we all live in, that's the world that all of our users and our employees and our workers live in, and so that's the world that we're going to talk about today. And I feel like, to kick that off, let's talk about the hype of AI versus what's really happening in enterprises. And I think in order to set this up, we should really think about, when you say AI, that means so many different things to so many different people. Right? Like, we talk about, gosh, the keynote yesterday, 2 days ago? What day?
It was definitely yesterday. It feels like a week ago.
Wow. Yeah. There's so much coming in there, and things that we as IT professionals can do, and how we're transforming enterprises and transforming the way that work happens and transforming applications and data and all these structures.
Yeah.
It's very exciting. There's so many announcements, you couldn't even fit them all.
Yeah, well, I mean, we have to be visionary. And I worked on the keynote. In fact, I was backstage at the keynote operating a bunch of that stuff. But and we have to be visionary at these keynotes, but it does depart a little bit from what is reality, right? And I think what we're talking about here today is the adjacent possible. I mean, we're both futurists here, but we are talking about not 5 years out or not 10 years out. What's going to happen in the next year that will actually be useful to you? That's not just fluff.
And it's from the perspective of your workers. So everything we're doing is not from the IT perspective, everything we're talking about today, but you and your actual workers that you're supporting, because they don't care about any of this, really. They're just trying to get their jobs. They're using the chat bot to sort of help them do their jobs. They're just trying to get through their day. So what does their life and a daily routine of a knowledge worker look like, and how's that going to evolve over the next few years? By the way, QR code here, I think we have QR codes on almost every single slide. So a lot of these slides are just kind of setting the stage for little conversations we're going to have, like maybe like 1 beer per slide. But you can go on the QR code, and there's links to blogs or articles or more that we produced on any of these topics.
And it will secretly make your phone mine Bitcoin for him.
Yeah. These are pure links. These are going to the actual, like this is a link to a Citrix blog post that I wrote. Most of my stuff that I'm writing and sharing is on the Citrix blog, citrix.com/blogs. It goes right to there. It's not going through a little aggregator or anything like that. But what I'm thinking, how I want to set the stage first before we sort of dive into it, is I did a piece about 6 months ago, there you go, called the 7-Stage Roadmap for Human-AI Collaboration. Because again, everything that you all showed off yesterday, it's mind-blowing.
Yeah.
But there's an element of it as you're sitting there watching, like, where do I even begin?
Yeah.
Like, that's all cool. Man, I got Windows and Workers and Outlook and Office files and OneDrive, and I'm syncing it all. I'm trying to move to Entra ID and I'm SSO and all these things. Like, where do I begin? So from the worker standpoint, a few months ago, about 6 months ago, I laid out for your typical knowledge worker, just a day in the life, average employee at your companies, what does their relationship with AI look like? And how's that going to evolve over the years? And it worked out to 7. I didn't make it 7 on purpose, but I kind of worked backwards from there. So I think the first way that everyone meets AI, I call it simple prompt and paste. For many of us, this was when these large language models came out into the world in a major way less than 3 years ago, by the way. How crazy is that?
Is that nuts?
But what was the first time you used these language models? It was like, write me a funny limerick, or help me write this awkward email to one of my employees.
And it was probably ChatGPT.
It probably was. But it was very simple. Like, I ask the chatbot something, I paste the result into my work. And that's how most people began using AI. So the second phase is as you got more comfortable with that, as workers became more comfortable, and truthfully, as the capabilities increased with these products, the next thing was this AI, it sort of became like an analyst, like a business analyst partner, or like a colleague of mine. Now, it's still a chatbot, right? I'm still typing it in, but now I'm dropping in PDFs, I'm dropping in Word documents. It's able to go off and do research, and deep research, high-level research, aggregate together, like brainstorming partner. So it's still a typing interface, but like I'm not using it for what I was using it for a year ago. I'm doing like real work with it. And this is the point, I gotta say, I mean, how many times do you hear this? Well, the first thing we hear, I'm sure most often, is what does the futurist do?
Mm-hmm. What do we do?
The second thing I hear most often is, hey man, so that AI is like, it's like a hype, right?
Uh-huh.
I'm like, man, I don't know. Anyone who's gotten to even to stage 2, like anyone who says that AI is a hype and isn't real is probably still living on stage 1 of, okay, it's fun. I wrote a fun poems and I had AI help me through awkward moments at work. But if you move to the point where it's real, I'm using it, like it's for real, helping my job. Like I feel like for myself, I do mean to brag. I'm an individual contributor at work. So I have a team of 5 AIs that I operate. And I feel like if I didn't have AI today, I would need 5 people.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's really changing the way that I interact and how I get things done. And that's happening already today, even though it's still with that sort of chat-based interface.
That's right. I'm going to show you how I do that later on.
Yeah. Marco is Core AI Demo Man.
I am not kidding, man. I do this for real.
So I do this as a user. That's a good point. You look on LinkedIn of Marco. He's got AI going back. For me, I didn't know anything about AI. To me, AI was 2001: A Space Odyssey, The Terminator, that movie Her. If you asked me about AI in October of 2022, that's what I said AI was. So then when these chatbots came out and became more popular, I'm like all of you and all of the workers. I'm just using it as a random worker. I was not like AI scientist who was studying this since I was 10. So I'm moving through all this process just like regular workers are. And I realized, so for the past year or so, we're using AI for like doing real analysis and stuff. And then the next step in these next capabilities is AI watches our screen. It sounds weird, but also, a lot of things that I type into my chatbot probably sounds weird also. And I'm like, if this chatbot can sort of look over my shoulder watch me browsing the web, see what I'm doing, and sort of help with that, because right now I have to type everything to it, right, or talk to it. But if it can just sort of watch my screen and be a little buddy on my shoulder, I'm like, go nuts, right?
To some degree.
I mean, people have the conversation about how this is
You don't want it to go too nuts.
they're like, well, do I want my AI seeing that? Everyone's making their own decision there. Everyone's operating at their own pace.
Yeah.
And I think that's an important thing here. Where I am, where you are, where you, where all you are, we're all operating at different speeds. And I think that's okay. There's absolutely no need to try to shove all of our employees to get there as fast as we can. Everyone is going to get there on their own speed. It's just like adopting any new technology, whether it's mobile, working from home, Zoom, iPhones, whatever it is. Everyone kind of gets there on their own speed. So you might have some workers who have never used AI. You might have some workers who are still in phase 1, phase 2. You might have some workers who are in phase 7. That's fine. Everyone's going to be at their own speed. But for me, OK, AI is watching my screen. So I don't have to type it and tell it everything specifically. It's just kind of sitting there and can be like, hey, 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 don't write that. That's what I want. Like, are you sure you want to write this? You know you're emailing an SVP, right? So it's watching my screen. But it's still fundamentally the same sort of chatbots that I've been using for a long time. So the next one now is AI uses my computer for me. AI is using your computer for you. And we'll talk about that. We'll do some demos. There's computer using agents. AI agents has these AI capabilities that they get more and more functional. So now it can actually navigate, it can observe my screen, it can move my mouse, it can click my keys for me, and actually use my computer. Interesting. So that's like there's that sort of next phase. The phase after AI uses my computer is AI uses my computer without me watching. Because there's a big industrial bright red stop button on the AIs as they're operating right now. Because like, oh, it's just learning and kind of getting there. We're starting to understand a little bit, but I don't trust it fully. I will at some point. I don't yet. So for me, I guess you could kind of draw the line and say, shh, I am at level 4 myself personally. Like I said, not everyone is. That's fine. But AI is going to use our computer without us watching. Microsoft, you announced a lot of this yesterday with Windows 11 having like an agentic mode and almost like a separate session that's running where the AI is logged in with its own credentials, with its own identity. And the worker can sort of flip back and forth between like the human-controlled workspace and the AI-controlled workspace. So you can see this starting to happen and starting to build out. But again, we're all going to get there on our own speed. And that really is OK. I want to be very clear. We're not trying to force our workers into these technologies.
No, I mean, it'll be organic. I mean, we'll go into it in a minute, but it's going to be organic, and it's going to show up also in your consumer life. I mean, it'll be in your business life, but you're going to start to see these tools in your consumer life. Some of you may already be using them. And a year from now or 2 years from now, you're not going to remember how you ever lived without this. It's going to be like a mobile phone or like the web. Like at this point, you don't even think about like, what was it like before phones? You don't even remember. How would we have found each other at the bar?
We joke about that always. I wouldn't even know where to begin.
Right?
I couldn't probably say that with my work right now. I'm at level 4 myself with AI. Like if they rolled it back and said like no more using AI at work, like
what would we do with ourselves?
I have to use my brain?
We'd be out of a job.
Lame. So AI is, next is using our computer without us watching. The next thing is multi-agent AI communication. And so here's the idea with this. We talk about AI agents. Everyone has a different definition of agent. It doesn't super matter what the real definition is that you believe. But there's the idea that agent is running and making decisions and taking actions kind of on its own. So it's off doing something. Yeah, we want it to check in with us. Yeah, we want to have some observability and some logs and things like that. But it's basically out doing things. Well, if I have my AI sort of out doing things, and your AI is out doing things, and the two of us want to meet up for a hypothetical situation, drinking beer and playing pinball, our two AIs can talk to each other.
That's right, and arrange it for us.
Yeah, and this is not really a thing that exists yet, but again, this is a roadmap that's going to happen over multiple phases, and so I think once the AI agents are competent enough to be using our computer and doing tasks, and we're trusting them to work on our behalf without us necessarily checking on them every second, now they're talking to each other.
Yep.
The final phase that I've sort of laid out here is I'm calling it AI orchestrated work.
Yep.
And so now it sort of flips, and this is the end of this slide, so you can take pictures of this now. AI orchestrated work, this is the idea that, well, if I've got an agent that I trust, you have an agent that you trust, probably our company has an agent, our vendors have agents, our different social environments and clubs have agents. At some point, the agent that I trust, whether that's mine, I say mine, the one that I choose to subscribe to on my own, whether it's the company-provided one, they're going to start getting together and maybe suggesting things and coordinating things. So it's not just at the task level. They're starting to say, oh, we should work on this. You know what? I see this is due. I see you have a presentation with Marco in 2 days. You should probably get together and plan it. It'll start to arrange that. So again, each one of these is a small step, but taken together, you can see how we move like step by step by step. All of this is going to be very visible to all of your workers.
Yeah.
And this is what's sort of happening in their world.
Well, now, what do you say we take a moment to leave slide land and take a look at some of these things in action?
Let's do
How do you
it.
feel about that?
Yeah, I like it.
I would put myself, by your characteristic here, I would put myself at stage 6 here, as a matter of fact. All right, now, you talked about AI using your computer. Well, I get emails like this one all the time. This is a real, like some marketing email. It's called Spray and Pray. And yes, Francis Brero, whoever you are, my apologies if you're in this room. Because I get these things all the time, and I just want to unsubscribe from them. Well, now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say unsubscribe me, and I just pasted in the address. Now, in M365 Copilot, there is this computer use agent. So it used to be, if you had attended Ignite last year, I did a whole session on computer use agents where I built one, and I connected it to a VM, like a Citrix VM, all that stuff. I did all that stuff. Now, I could just do this. Now, this is part of the researcher agent, and in a moment here, it will spawn a computer. So I guess it's not exactly correct to say the AI is using my computer. It's actually making one of its own. Now, the advantage of doing this with an unsubscribe, it doesn't require any credentials. You don't need to log in to unsubscribe from an email. Now, and this does take some time, but we'll see. If it comes up, if it doesn't come up, I do this actually quite frequently now. So this is an effective way to unsubscribe from emails, because there really is no good programmatic way to unsubscribe from crappy emails. You kind of need a computer use agent. It has to render the page, because they have all these tricks that they do. And so I did do this earlier. I unsubscribed from some other email, and you could actually see the screenshots, the traces of what it did. So it went to this GDS site, whatever that was, and then it's like, you want me to unsubscribe? I'm like, yeah, do that. And it plugged in my email, and eventually, you have unsubscribed from our mailing list.
I want to point out, he's doing this live right now. This is not a pre-canned video. What crazy futuristic application is this again that you're using?
This is a computer use agent.
And
now,
when do we get this?
Now.
It's
this is available today.
The point is, this exists today. You all have this. All of your users have this too.
Right. Now wait. Now this is funny. This is actually funny. So Substack, you see, Substack is verifying that I'm a human, which I am not in this case. I mean, I personally am, but it is not. Now, you know what? While we're on this topic, actually, I'm going to call a quick audible on this, because I did talk about this entering your consumer life. Let me show you something. This is actually pretty interesting. I do want to talk about Manus for a second. How many of you are familiar with Manus? You all know Manus? Anybody? All right, well.
You might have noticed them in the keynote yesterday morning.
Was it in the keynote?
As one of the partners of it, yeah.
Oh, yeah, they are partners. They are running on Azure OpenAI. Mm-hmm. Now, here's the thing about Manus. So Manus is a consumer agent. And I did mention this is going to enter your consumer life, and Manus, Perplexity, now Google has one. I was in Scotland in June, and I needed to rent a car. I needed to rent a car that I could pick up in Inverness and drop off in Edinburgh, and that's a good task to do with Manus, because it's kind of tedious, and I didn't want to do that. So what Manus really does, it launches this. Here we are again with the computer use agent. It is literally using a browser, in this case going to Kayak and all that other stuff. Now, at some point during this process, if you kind of look back forensically, this happened. So you saw what Substack was doing. Substack was trying to verify that I was a human, whatever. Now, Hertz blocked my agent. You know who I did not rent the car from? Is Hertz. So the moral of the story is that, when you think more broadly, not just about the computer use agents, but about these consumer agents and their emergence on the scene, boy, oh boy, you better be, if you're in a B2C company, you better be optimizing for this now, today. You have to realize that search traffic is more and more moving to like ChatGPT and Perplexity and stuff like that. So what you knew as search engine optimization is now agent optimization, which includes don't block the agents.
This is a great segue, because if we go to this next slide I have here, again, the QR code goes to a blog post about this in depth. We say why AI will use your existing workplaces, your existing workspaces. Because if I'm a car rental company, and I know that people are going to be using AI, I don't want their AIs to look at my website built for humans and try to decode what the intent is and all my dark patterns and everything. I'm like, I have an API. Get yourself an API key, go nuts, rent all the cars you want. Of course, that's great. I'm sure things will be like that in like 5 years.
Yep.
Today, it doesn't exist.
No, we got to use the lowest common denominator.
Which is our dumb meat brains.
That's right.
Everything that was done for our human brains, the whole world was built for humans. Everything we do, think about all the processes you have at work. I mean, we are called knowledge workers. Our companies are really a sum of all of us as people. Like it's a summarization of people. And I don't mean that in a kumbaya kind of way, but really every process, verification, checklist, checkbox, all the workflows, all this is built for humans. And humans have eyes, ears, fingers. So we have web pages, we have desktop applications, we have phone apps, we have Zoom calls, all the Teams meetings, all of these things. And all this is built for humans. So if you want AI to enter your workforce, look, there's absolutely a parallel track, actually, I think literally in every other single room in this building right now, talking about the back-end IT focuses and how you update and transform your back-end systems, how you rebuild them for the future, rebuild them for AI. All very important, and I'm not saying you shouldn't be doing any of that. But all these things are going to take some time. We're going to have to pick and choose our projects. It's like how, when the web came out in the 1990s, we said, oh, the future is going to be web. Everything's going to be web apps. It kind of is. It took 20 years.
It took a while.
Mobile apps, same thing. All this, the cloud.
Well, now
everything.
here, all you are here in San Francisco, and you see it happening here with cars. How many of you have taken a Waymo since you got here? I mean, I've taken a few. Now, did you actually end up taking one?
How many of you are AI futurists who really understand the statistical data that computers can drive better than humans, and they have all their brains and processing with sub-millisecond accuracy, and they have 15 eyes instead of 2, yet are still a little bit afraid to ride in a Waymo?
No.
Okay. But the reality is, though, is with AI entering the workplace, the way that AI is going to truly impact your business and the business of your customers is going to be all your individual workers, all those individual knowledge workers, task workers that are, by the way, going to find whatever AI they can find. They're going to use whatever tools they use. They're going to use maybe the AIs that you are providing to them that can hook into your work environments. But the AI is going to operate in the user land, in the user workspace. And that's where AI is going to first make a very big impact on the workplace. And that is, this is what we talk about, like why AI, because the world we live in today is built for humans. The work is built for humans. The workflows are built for humans. So the way AI succeeds in that way is by emulating humans.
Right. Now, to be fair, I mean, a lot of what we're doing at this conference here is around retrofitting your existing workflows, your existing processes for easier use by AI. I mean, we talk about, like, for example, APIM, the Azure API Manager, has an MCP server mode now, where you could just, now you have an MCP server. And so, MCP is one means by which you can provide an API to an agent that it's better at using than a raw REST API. Raw REST APIs are not self-describing. MCP servers are better at self-describing. Doesn't mean it's going to be perfect, but it does work better. So, I mean, but it's going to be a long period of time. And as you said, just like the adaptation to the web, to mobile, here too, this adaptation is going to take us some number of years. And in the interim, well, they're going to have to make do with what works for us.
Yeah. And I've got another slide that's like sort of more interactive that can sort of illustrate what that looks like. So we'll start with our workers. And so as it is today, your workers are using some AI application. This is a generic nonsensical symbol, but this is your chatbot, LLM, whatever you want to call it. AI actually, let's talk about that. Maybe you should not call it a chatbot or LLM, because these things are so much more than that. They don't just chat. It's not just about language.
As we will see in a little bit.
They can look at your screen. You can talk to them.
Yes.
But also, they have connectors. They have, it's not just conversations. You load in documents. It connects into OneDrive. It connects into your Microsoft graph. It understands your schedule, your work applications. It can operate, Excel for you. So calling these things a LLM is that suggests it's like just a chatbot, but it really is much more than just a chatbot. So there's a lot of conversation in the industry about what we call these. AI platform. Some people say AI OS, which, as a technologist, really hurts me. But
that's very the movie Her.
I
Right?
feel like it's probably
she's an OS.
Yeah, and I think that the term that might actually went out. But so the point is, though, it doesn't matter what you're using. In this case, it's your workers. So your workers are going to be using whatever they want or whichever you provide to them. This is their interface, right? This is where they're going through those 7 stages we talked about. So they're talking to Copilot, a hypothetical example. Now, so everything the workers do is talking to the AI. Now, the AI is going to, on its behalf, go talk to the applications. So, for example, AIs can access modern applications. So modern applications, I mean like SaaS apps. So every app that has an API, you can build an MCP. What that is, there's other sessions, I'm sure, about this. These are the apps that you see in some of these AI platforms that have connectors, connects into Adobe, connects into OneDrive, connects into all these things. Microsoft announced something yesterday called WorkIQ.
WorkIQ.
Which is fantastic. So this is the idea that you have not just a connector from the outside kind of running searches on your data, but it's actually living within the graph and understands you and your work and your files and relationships, and then can expose that back to.
Yeah, I mean, you can look at WorkIQ as basically being an interface to M365 Copilot, but for agents.
Yeah, perfect. So your agent is talking to your modern applications. Of course, not all your applications are modern apps, right? They're not all SaaS apps. There's a lot of web apps that don't have these interfaces, like car rental companies, for example. So if the AI has to talk to a web app, how is it going to do that? Whether it goes to the browser control. So every single browser maker, you've probably seen this, has a little bolt-on AI buddy that not only can see what you're doing in the browser, but it can also take control when it needs to and actually operate the browser. That can operate your own browser locally on your computer, or can operate a browser in the cloud, like the demo that you just showed. Yep. Sidebar from the work standpoint, if it's operating a browser in the cloud, here's where you come in to make sure it's a corporate browser that has your corporate protections and all your guardrails and that kind of thing. But so the AI is accessing web apps and operating the browser. Of course, not all applications are modern apps. Not all applications are web apps. We still have legacy apps. I'm sorry, desktop apps.
That's right.
Desktop apps and workflows. So there's plenty of applications, maybe not individual applications, but workflows that require your desktop, right? Because you've got to download this, put it here, transform it, move it over here, open this in the file, do all these different kinds of things. So this is where those computer-using agents come in. The computer-using agents that actually operate a desktop. And by the way, how far in the future is it before AI can operate a desktop? We're there now.
Well, we're there. I will say, though, and if you look at my YouTube channel, you'll find I make a lot of YouTube videos with these CUAs. I mean, we are there. It does work some of the time. It works 100% of the time. Well, it works 60% of the time, 100% of the time.
It's one of these things. So there's actually benchmarks on this. There's an open source benchmark called OS World. It's 369 tasks written in plain language. It's a desktop container and says, go on the desktop, get this file, open it in Excel, do this, email it to this person. That's task 1. And they give these 369 tasks. When this benchmark came out 18 months ago, they gave all these tasks to a bunch of humans. There's a boring test. Mm-hmm. The median human could score 74%. They successfully did 74%. Not you. You would all get 100, I'm sure. But our moms, it has to balance out. But the median human is 74. But you can go to OS World benchmark. When this benchmark came out 18 months ago, the best AI did 12%. January this year was 40. August was 60. Now it's up to 70%. So the median human is 74. As of November 16th, is that yesterday?
That's 3 days ago.
3 days, whatever. It's 70. And so, I don't know, by the time you're watching this online, we might be over 74%. So these things are not infallible. And by the way, that doesn't mean that the AI knows what to do, but it means if you or another AI model needed to tell an AI to go to a computer and manipulate something and get me back the data, the AIs are now able to do that about as well as humans can.
Yeah, well, maybe we can leave slide land again.
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's talk about, we've been talking about, and I don't want to belabor the computer use agent thing too much, but what I do want to talk about is how we will be interacting with AI in the future. Now, you think of, and you said it earlier, right? You think of AI as being, you type to it, it types to you. And that's how that works. Everybody thinks ChatGPT is that. Now, what is happening now is that you're starting to see the emergence of these Omni models, like this one here, GPT Real-Time, which went GA in August. And, well, I'll let it speak for itself. Hey, can you hear me over there?
Loud and clear.
Hey, cool.
How's
all right, so tell me about Citrix.
Oh, you.
Ooh.
Oh, absolutely. Let me give you the scoop. Citrix.
All right, cool. So tell me that in French.
Bien sûr. Allons-y en français.
No, actually, no. Tell me in Telugu.
సరే ఇప్పుడు తెలుగులో చెప్పుదా సిట్రిక్స్ అనేది ఒక ప్రముఖ టెక్నాలజీ కంపెనీ ఇది వర్చువల్
You get the idea. Now here I'm using this in isolation. And in fact, I mean, if you go to Copilot over here, if I go back to chat mode, there is actually a voice mode in here, and I can turn this thing on, and it becomes voice chat. However, that is not how this is going to go in reality. Actually, it's going to go more like this. So a little bit by way of backstory on this one, and you can do this too, by the way. This is 𝗦𝗽𝗲𝗀𝗶𝐻𝗶𝗄𝗏. Part of my role as futurists, I don't know if you get to do this as much as I do, but as part of my role, I do a lot of work with space agencies. I did go visit NASA a couple of months ago. I'm going to be visiting the ESA in a couple of weeks. In 2021, NASA launched a mission called DART, which did achieve its mission in 2023 of crashing into an asteroid. So it crashed into the asteroid 𝗦𝗽𝗲𝗀 intentionally. What we're looking at now is called Hera. Hera is a spacecraft launched by the ESA, the European Space Agency, in 2024. It is currently on its way back to that asteroid system. There's actually 2 asteroids orbiting each other. And one of its goals is to determine how far did we deflect the asteroid 𝗦𝗽𝗲𝗀. When we crashed into it, how far did we move it? Because there is an asteroid heading for Earth in 2029. Well, it has currently a 1% chance of hitting the Earth. There's another one with a 4% chance of hitting the moon in 2032. And either one of these would be disastrous for us. So the question is, how hard do we have to hit these things to move them out of our way? Now, the reason I'm showing this, though, is that this 𝗦𝗽𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗏 is actually a next-generation, fully interactive AI application. So hopefully the speaker doesn't interfere with itself. We're going to find out. Hey, can you hear me over there?
Loud and clear.
All right, cool. Say, where are you right now?
Right now, I'm about 400.
Oh, okay,
No
okay.
worry.
Tell me about what is the current temperature of the spacecraft?
Take a look at these plots that show the space. It is pretty chilly out here, but that's no.
It's interfering with its own self over here. That is a challenge that it has. But my point with this is, let me make it quiet now so it stops talking. So when I asked it where it is, it doesn't just tell me where it is, it shows me where it is. It showed me that orbital chart. When I asked it what its temperature was, it didn't just tell me what the temperature was, or try to. It showed me the temperature chart. This is a fully interactive AI application. It's not just a chatbot. It's not just a voice bot. So when you talk about, it's going to watch you, it's going to use the computer with you, it's going to do things with you, this is the beginning of it. This is definitely not the end of it, but this is the beginning of it. A fully interactive AI application. This is what the future holds.
Yeah, and I think, if you look at this, go back to this diagram, and there's the QR code here again has more info. Look at these arrows, right? The human workers interacting with the AI, they're going to interact with it in whatever mode they want. It's typing today. A computer started with prompts. I guess they started with flip switches, but yeah. It's typing today, but it's getting into talking. It's getting into where the computer can just show you data. Like in this, it's deep faking your conversations, making a fake coworker or a Clippy or the orange blob. Does the yellow blob have a name?
Does not. I think it's just called Hera.
Yeah. And so you can engage with it, and you're going to engage with it on whatever device you want, because people are like, is the future VR? Is it AR glasses? Sure. If you like, if you're into that, or it's earbuds, it's going to use whatever screen you have. It's going to use your TV screen, the screen in your pocket, your watch, your buds, whatever device you have, in whatever mode you you prefer to interact with it, which might change from moment to moment. So I might be walking down the street with my dog, having a conversation with AI about what I'm doing on work, and let's work on this workshop and this kind of stuff, and then I drop my desk and pick up, and off it goes. So
you got to AI enable your dog. I mean, so that you can hear what the dog is actually saying to you.
I'm pretty certain I know what the dog is saying to me without the AI. There's only two things she wants.
Food. Yeah.
So the human to AI connection will be whatever format the human needs that makes sense at that moment. Then the AI itself is talking to the applications. As the AI talks to the applications, again, it's going to use whatever that native application format is that it needs, or the data directly. So that leads us into this next, when apps dissolve into data. Again, the article on that. Because the idea is, were you talking to an app, or were you talking to your data? And the AI was sort of personifying, wrong word, the data in the, like, oh, here's a little screen I drew, here's my spacecraft. I ask it about a temperature, and it is going to show me charts and graphs and all things.
I mean, what was I talking to? That was linked to the real-time telemetry from the Hera spacecraft, delayed by 25 minutes due to the speed of light, based on where it is. But you're right, I was talking to the data.
And it's interesting because we have this world. I mean, applications. We were on stage, everyone, like it's all about the apps, right? Delivering the apps, protecting the apps, securing the apps, making the apps performant, all this kind of thing. But what is the app, right? The app is a tool that we use to create, manipulate, et cetera, the data. I mean, you may have seen that these AI platforms now, they can manipulate files, for example, without even using the application. You know, Microsoft did this very cool thing several decades ago now where they converted all the Office documents. It's all XML, so XLSX,
yeah.
So now, you know, I can drop my Excel file into my Copilot and ask it for what I want it to do, or say, oh, check this, or look at this thing. And it, you know, in my mind, I'm like, oh, it's going to open up Excel, load that in. The computer using agent is going to read Excel and click around the menus. Man, this Excel file, it's just a giant XML plain text file. I don't need Excel.
XML is cool again, at long last. But you know, actually, so it's funny you should mention that. Over the weekend, this weekend, I was setting up for this keynote at which we announced, and we did manage to keep it quiet this whole time that we were doing the Anthropic thing, although I had, you know, obviously early access to it. And one of the things I was using over the weekend was Anthropic skills. I don't know, you've seen these things, these Anthropic skills?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's interesting. So you give a Claude model, and we're going to start supporting skills and other models as well, but you give a Claude model a skill. So I gave it the skill to read and create PowerPoints, and I gave it a skill to make documents, and I gave it a PDF skill.
I should add, where did you get this skill from?
Well, from Anthropic in this case.
No, I'm saying, but you like just tell it, like you're using.
Yeah. I'm like, you have the right to read and do PowerPoints now, and it did it.
Yeah, you didn't have to get certified on skills.
I didn't get certified. It didn't get certified.
Yeah.
It somehow downloaded a skill from a marketplace. There's a marketplace of skills already. Little known fact.
Yeah, and so like all this stuff, it's evolving so fast. So all these skills that exist today, which, as I said, why we can't just refer to these things as chatbots, because there's so much capability that they have. But so now these things, they can manipulate an Excel file, a PDF, whatever, without using the actual application. So it's like the apps start to dissolve away because what we really care about is the data. And of course, what if I'm using Excel, but I want to see the result of the pie charts? I mean, if it can deepfake the Pope wearing a puffer jacket, it can draw a pie chart. And it will show whatever you need in whatever format you need. You want a dashboard, you want the dashboard to be in, I don't know, Cleveland Browns colors because you're a diehard Browns fan, it'll be in Cleveland Browns colors. Whatever format you want the data in, whatever colors, whatever you need, it will build for you right there.
Yeah, so I thought, actually, let me show you what it actually did make. So again, I'm calling it audible here. So I decided, I was like, so if I'm going to use the skills to make a PowerPoint, I'm like, all right, Claude. Now, bear in mind, I was running Claude on Azure, and I said, okay, Claude, I gave you the skill to make a PowerPoint deck. Make me a deck about the benefits of Anthropic models on Azure, which it totally freaking did. You know, it did a pretty good job of it. Not bad, not bad.
But the key, it didn't use PowerPoint for this.
No, actually, it's funny you mentioned that. So what did it do? Yeah, it didn't use PowerPoint at all. What it really did, if you look closely at it, if I go up a level here, it made these slides
funny.
in HTML first, and then it somehow converted them to PowerPoint format. But no, it didn't open up PowerPoint. There was nothing like that. It just noodled on it for like 6 minutes. And it told me what it was doing, but it noodled on it for a while, and then it spat out a PowerPoint.
So it's funny because what we think about as traditional applications, these lines are blurring. Like they're already starting to blur. I think we're going to see an explosion of applications in the enterprise because of AI. And I don't mean because of vibe coding. Like, I use the mom test for things.
Not that there's anything wrong with that
Not that there's anything wrong with that. But like, I use the mom. Like, my mom's not vibe coding, but I can see her saying, "Oh, every time a new picture is posted on of my grandson, like email it to me or whatever."
Totally.
And the AI will say, like, "Okay," and we're doing that now. Is that an app? Like, no, but it runs and it has permissions and it accesses resources and it does things and it lives somewhere, I guess.
Well, you know what? I mean, it's funny you should mention that. Do we even have this discussion, or are you just so check this out. Hold on. Where'd this go? Yeah, check out this workflow thing. So in this workflow thing, this is a Frontier agent that is an M365. I'm not 100% sure we launched it here or not, and I do hope that it'll load now because that would be nice. But what this thing does, I can actually say in here, okay, so here's one. I said, if I get an email, let's say I get an email from Brian Madden, and he's requesting a meeting at a certain time, then, check my calendar and see. So here I did it with
Auto say yes.
Right? And so it actually makes this workflow. I just described, I said, if 𝗦𝗲𝘀 sends me an email, then, find the time, check it in my calendar, and if it's open, send him an invite. And indeed, it makes this workflow. So, I mean, what you're describing, again, it's not tomorrow. This is already here.
Yeah,
and it's already happening.
It's wild because we as IT professionals think about managing applications. They have vendor support, they have security lists, we have like analysts that help us with that, and consultants and everything. And I believe there's going to be an explosion of applications in the enterprise. I don't want to say thanks to AI, because of AI, caused to AI, and so the way that we manage applications,
right,
the way that we secure applications, the way we think about security and approvals and everything, that all has to change. Which actually gets me to something that we can sort of do today. Because people say, okay, you walk away from this, we got like a few minutes left here. What can we do today for this? And I say focus on the boring infrastructure. And I mean that in a very respectful, braggy way. IT professional, 31 years. You know what I like? I like when things are boring. I'm not even joking. I don't want to be woken up at night. I don't want some crazy new thing that's doing who knows what with my whatever. Like, I just want things to work. I want to be left alone. I want to not be in the news because we got ransomware. And I just want to go on my life and work my hours and go home.
Yeah.
So what we can do today to get ready for all this is focus on all the things that are kind of boring when you compare it in the potential to AI, right? Like working on your sign-on, your Entra ID, SSO, like zero trust, like
role-based RBAC, yeah, the RBAC salad that we have in Azure.
All these things, like the best thing you can do. It's like when you're expanding a road. What do you have to do? You have to move the phone poles over, dig up the pipes, dig the trees down. You have to dig everything, like all the infrastructure you have to put in place before you actually start laying pavement for the road. The same thing is happening within the world of AI, within all of your organizations. This stuff is coming today. We saw it, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Maybe we're in the 4, 5-ish range.
3 to 4-ish.
But again, most of our workers are not. Most of our workers are on phase 0 or phase 1 and maybe phase 2. Workers are using AI tools on their own, and they're getting pretty good with it. But usually those AI tools can't get into your enterprise data, which is good. The companies might start providing things like Copilot that can get access to your enterprise graph via WorkIQ, which is also great. They need a secure place to work, which is what Citrix does in the world. I mean, from the Citrix standpoint, the way we look at it is I think the way everyone should look at it, is you all have been delivering applications and workspaces to your workers for your whole careers. With AI, nothing really changes. What changes is the worker might not be a human worker, but all the things that you would worry about with AI are the same things you worry about with humans. What are the guardrails? What are they doing? Where the logs are?
How do I do the principle of least privilege? Right?
Yeah,
how do I give them just what they need to do their job?
So as you think about getting ready for AI, yes, you have these things that are operating inside your organization, which sounds scary, but you already have all these humans operating inside your organization, which is also kind of scary, but we make do. We have all these kind of guardrails and permissions. So I don't think that from the standpoint of how we're delivering our IT services to our workers, I don't think the AI is that fundamental different. I mean, if you focus on things that, like I said, the Zero Trust, RBAC, SSO, all the stuff that we all should be doing anyway, that's your path. And that's sort of how to prepare.
Absolutely.
So with that, I want to just summarize a couple things. We have just a few seconds left here. Program note, my colleague Sean Bass from Citrix, who many of you know, is giving a session at 8:30 a.m. tomorrow. Go to bed early tonight. So he's got a session in the same exact room tomorrow morning at 8:30, talking about Citrix and Azure. We'll have some customers there. The Citrix booth, down the escalators, turn right, you can't miss it. We're doing a survey, which is a 4-question survey. You can take it now, you can take it at the booth. And we'll be using that data. It's about what AI means to you and how you're thinking about it. So that's there. Come visit us in the booth. I'm heading there right now myself. Let's keep this conversation going. You can't do a lot in this short amount of time. This is me on LinkedIn. This is Marco on LinkedIn. Hit us up. And I guess the final little note, sorry for that. I got rid of that too fast. Hey, that's it, though. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you taking the time here with us. Don't forget your session survey, which I'll put up on the next slide. And